You've worked at the Worldwatch Institute on a series of sustainable energy roadmaps to help countries transition to a clean economy. Why are such roadmaps necessary?
For the sustainable energy roadmaps and the implementation plans we do really provide the guidance for how to transition away from the current centralized energy systems that are unsustainable in any way in any sense of the word, financially, economically, socially, and of course also environmentally. Transition away from them to energy systems that are sustainable. Governments often do not have the necessary information available to them to make smart decisions about their energy systems. And where they have the information, it is often very piecemeal. So what we do is we review information that exists and we gather new information where it does not, and then we provide it all in one place. So our roadmaps do provide this information, but they also then are implementation plans because they make concrete suggestions for how to transition away from the current systems to systems that are more sustainable.
Okay, and could you talk a little bit more about the main features of a sustainable energy roadmap? Like what different aspects are you covering and why?
Of course. So we work with governments as well as non-governmental actors on these roadmaps. They are very comprehensive strategic plans as they include technical analysis of the potentials of renewables and energy efficiency, as well as technical information relating to the needs for a renovation of the given grid systems. But they also, there's a lot of these technical feasibility studies, and they're very necessary, and our analysis often builds on them, and we just produce new information, new technical information, really where it's necessary, where it doesn't exist. But then we take additional steps in our assessments. So as a next step and as a next component of the roadmap, we model different development pathways, energy development pathways, say 20%, 40%, 60%, 80% of renewables coming from different available resources in a given country or region. And we do that to analyze the different economic and social impacts. We look into the investment environment for renewables and energy efficiency technologies. So what investments already happen and what's in the way of more of them? What barriers exist to further investments? And then at the very end of it, we're making concrete suggestions for political and administrative reforms to make smarter decisions, but also concrete policies and measures that improve the investment environment so that we hopefully will see more investments going into these technologies in the future.
So what you're saying is that once a country can overcome the initial investment barriers, then clean energy pathway is good for business and good for employees as well as the environment.
See, any change you produce will always benefit some people and be maybe less beneficial to others. There's a lot of people in the world making a lot of money with our current fossil fuels. Societies can only develop and can only develop a higher quality of life, really, if they are based on affordable and reliable and sustainable energy systems. And the current energy systems that we see in most countries and municipalities and provinces in the world are not sustainable and not affordable, and they are not, in many places, they are not even reliable. So this is the great impetus and the great motive and rationale behind the roadmaps, and really behind what we think decision makers should do.
Sure. Great. And the roadmaps were developed, the initial ones before the Paris Climate Agreement, where 195 countries are developing targets for climate emissions. So has this Paris Agreement changed the relationship between the roadmap and the agreement?
So what's the relationship between the roadmap and Paris? One is I've written many articles suggesting really to look into the successes that are already happening in the energy sector. Not just as we move forward, we will see more and more of them happen, including because of the Paris Agreement. But we have seen great successes in the past, and I've always argued that look at these successes, not just in terms of bringing emissions down in the energy system, but also really of the economic and social impacts of transitions of energy systems. And that's really in the developed world and in the developing world as well. And maybe with this new spirit, bringing that to the Paris negotiation table, we're able to conclude with something that is better than what was the outcome of past climate negotiation, past summits, past events, where very often the discussion was about how can I possibly do less than what you do, right? So let's look at the successes and bring this positive spirit to Paris. And I think this has happened. There's one added facet to it, if you want so, and that is there will be new money coming, particularly for developed and least developed countries, coming out of the funds that are being set up under the Paris Agreement. And we're going to make sure in the roadmaps we do that countries do see these opportunities, that there is outside help out if they are willing to act. So that's another impact of it. But in terms of the methodology, in terms of most of the advice that we're giving, it's not going to change all that dramatic.
Okay, thank you very much.
You're very welcome.